like really disgusting right now. That's because I've been stressed about like other things. Let me pause my music. But yeah, I feel really gross because like I literally leave for college in a couple days. So yeah, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm very fucking stressed. But I want to play Genshin because what? I wanna show some shit. Also, I am setting up like other things because tuition is so fucking expensive. But yeah. But hey, good thing is I get my mic. The mic finally comes. I finally get to bully my friend into bringing me it. Because I've been a month without it and I want it. Is it going to show? Is it going to show? Other than that, because I'm somewhat of a rich bitch. I'm kidding. I got the boy. Okay.
You finally returned. How was your journey to Jueyun Karst?
Painful.
I see. Huh. Moon Carver, Mountain Shaper, Cloud Retainer, Conqueror of Demons. Some of these names have never come up in the intel the Fatui gets hold of.
He's gonna betray us, isn't he? I just feel like he is.
As a returning gift, I too have information for you. Regarding the Archon's passing, the Liyue Qixing's response really has given me food for thought. They've announced that, as the true killer has not yet been found, they are not allowing anyone to pay their respects to the
my
Exuvia.
rib fucking just
They've even gone so far as to try and cut off information. But with the right of dissension and all, even the Qixing isn't able to keep a lid on things.
Ow, I'm fine, but that hurt.
It's common knowledge in Liyue that Rex Lapis is also an Adeptus. The Geo Archon is also the god of contracts, and is also known as the Exuvia, prime of the Adepti. The mighty and illuminated Adepti of today all signed contracts to protect Liyue way back then.
Guess that explains
Everyone
why they're
says that
also
different.
focused on Liyue's well-being.
I'm not
Naturally,
gonna say
they
that
both
right.
have the responsibility
And
and
bullied
the
for
aptitude
it.
for the job. If the ruling Qixing became unable to perform their duty properly, the Adepti have the right to take corrective action. The Geo Archon's spirit has risen, so why would the Qixing hide his vessel? Truly suspicious.
Oh, right! He's the whole reason we came here!
Yeah.
If the Liyue Qixing has locked up Exuvia and won't let anyone near, then our quest to find the Seven is already over.
We'll just have to break in.
Oh? You're trying to find the Seven? And just why might that be, pray tell? Nice
comment.
answer.
No comment.
A knight that gets duped by the Fatui would really be no knight at all now, would they? But
Bitch,
I
I
can
feel like
help
you're
you
gonna
with that
backstab
too,
me.
you know?
If I'm correct about that, don't yell at me.
Give me some
Okay.
time. Time to find someone. Someone who can help you break through this stalemate. Huh. Truly fascinating. The harder they try to
Is it gonna
silence
be a
the
very tall
situation,
motherfucker with a blade?
greater
I
the
almost said with the
chaos that erupts.
Oh my god, I can't talk.
If you want to be around to see it all come crashing down, best you stay alive until we next meet, yes?
No, because I've died so many times. If that was all, I will actually cry. Okay, that's fun. Holy shit. I didn't think it was gonna be that much. Okay. I will do these later. Okay. Navigate. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. I'll do the pulse, last thing. I know who I have to go to that for. Okay. Oh my god, I'm gonna be 26. Oh no, that means everything's gonna level up and it's gonna be annoying. Okay, where am I going? Map. Oh yeah, I also finished all of this. Oh no, you fucks are bringing me to. Didn't it say to go to the. Wait until the following day. We have a clock for a reason. We have a clock for a reason. You told me that counted. God damn it. I really hope I did that correct. Love that. Fuck. I hate when that happens sometimes. I do not want to talk. Hello, in other words, can I give you my money? Hello? Oh no, what opened? No! Not that!
Welcome to the Northland Bank.
Welcome, friend of child, and congratulations on the first day of your illustrious career with the Fatui.
Hey.
You sound remarkably sure of yourself. Remember, we are mere mortals. Our ideas are
Child, what
fluid
the
like
fuck did you
water.
do?
Only the Tsaritsa truly has a will as solid as the permafrost. But back to the matter at hand. Child tells me that he has upheld his end of your agreement.
What agreement? Oh, the thing about him helping us find a guy?
Correct. Child promised he would find someone to break the stalemate. And the Harbingers do not break their promises
If
lightly.
it's who I think it is.
Ah, where is that guy
I don't know how to
anyway?
say his name, but if it's who I think it
Child
is, I'm walking
currently
away.
at Leoli Pavilion.
Oh, Paimon. There are two styles of cooking in Liyue.
If it's who I think it
Known
is,
as
I'm going
Lee
to leave.
style and Yue style. They have been competing for centuries, but neither has emerged as the clear winner. The flagship restaurant of the Lee style is the Liyue Pavilion. The owner especially chose to open the restaurant at Feiyun Slope. Don't talk to Paimon like that. Anyway,
I have to bully
Paimon's
Paimon.
hungry.
Emergency
Let's get
food.
moving.
I have to bully emergency food.
To the Northland Bank. If I take the loan,
Child, you son of a bitch! Also, why is this man so short? I'm taller than him. He's so short.
Aha, you made it.
I'm gonna slap you.
As promised, I found someone who can help you. Someone who can solve the mystery of why the Liyue Qixing would hide the Geo Archon's vessel.
So, where is he? In
Okay.
Liyue Pavilion?
He certainly is. Come, I'll
Okay,
introduce
it's
you.
not who
I took the liberty of setting up a business dinner, as per the Liyue custom.
it is. It's a shield, motherfucker, isn't it? It's gonna be him, isn't it? Okay, it's not the person I thought it was, but I still feel like he's gonna
Welcome back, sir. You honor us with your patronage.
rich motherfucker.
Mr. Zhongli is awaiting your
Yep.
arrival in the room you booked.
It's shield, motherfucker. Something else. I caught my smile.
Hi.
The motherfucker we get to pull next time. Ah, it's you. you?
Allow me to introduce Mr. Zhong Li, consultant to an organization known as Wang Sheng, and a trusted associate of the Fatui.
Hello, God.
Indeed, Wang Sheng's line of work can be sensitive at times.
Hello,
Let's just say they understand
hello,
when
bitch.
discretion is needed. And we, the Fatui, have always been glad to do business with friends who walk in the shadows.
Yes, I do love calling people out in this
Walk
game.
in the shadows?
It is an honor to meet you. I have heard tell of you from Mondstadt.
Discretion? Shadows? Is Wangshan some kind of business involving dealing with
Who's this
people?
voice actor?
Indeed.
Oh.
It is as you
I have
have
the characters
guessed.
pulled up in the background, so I want to know, like,
The Wangsheng Funeral Parlor organizes burials. We ensure that those who pass on do so in peace.
Huh?
Did you think he was some sort of hired killer?
yes.
The Fatui calls many such people friends, but the Wang Sheng Funeral Parlor does not dabble in such business. Well, ostensibly.
Is this where we get to meet Chi-Chi?
Well, they
Is
are
that
still...
the correct person I'm thinking of?
I shouldn't say too much. In any case, I brought you to meet Mr. Zhong Li because...
Because I can bring you to see Rex Lapis's vessel.
Hey, yo.
What?
Hey, yo. What?
Don't be so surprised. Sure, the Geo Archon's body has been squirreled away by order of the Tianquan Ningguang.
Hey, yo.
But first, let's hear what Mr. Zhong Li has to say, shall
My
we?
shirt literally just tried to
Rex
kill me.
Lapis may be the prime of Adepti,
Bring my hood up, because
but
this
he
shirt
is
is actually not
ultimately
my
an
size.
Adeptus. Many Adepti have
This
left
is a
us
men's
over the
shirt.
millennia.
That I stole from
This is the
Disney himself.
inexorable trend.
Sorry, mate.
The times have changed. You must have felt it too when you were at Jueyun Karst. Archons go by many names. The god of contracts, the god of commerce, the warrior god, Morax, Rex Lapis. Is the idea that he also has the title of Adeptus so strange?
I don't know, you tell me.
As you have seen, the time of the Adepti is ending, and the time of mankind is slowly dawning. In years
The lore of
past,
this game is
Liyue's
like-
tradition was that a huge memorial service be held to mark the passing of every Adeptus. But this time, the Qixing have made no attempt whatsoever
My
to
leg got
respect
stuck in my
this
chest.
tradition. It is sacrilege.
Yeah, the killer hasn't even been caught yet.
Why do we look so scared? And
Deicide or not, the concern of the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor is this. When the ritual to receive this god is so kingly, it is all the more egregious for his final send-off to go unattended to. Traveler, Child has told me a lot about you. Since you have had dealings with the Animo Archon, could I ask you to help me prepare the Geo Archon's
Child says
last
too
rites?
much.
A wise decision.
Shut
The
up.
Tianquan Ningguang has forbidden anyone from
Says the
accessing
motherfucker
Rex
doesn't have a
Lapis's
shine in his
vessel,
eye.
which of course you would need to access if you were to achieve your goal of meeting all of the 7.
Precisely. Only by participating in the rite of parting will you be able to see the form of Rex Lapis again. If we are agreed, come with me. We will speak of the details as we walk.
You bitch ass motherfucker.
Alright, my bridge building work here is done. Turned out well, didn't it?
What the fuck
You
did he
can
go?
go if you want to. Don't worry about me. I might just have a few more drinks. And get acquainted with these things they call chopsticks in the meantime.
I was like, oh god, where do I go? Well, I've met one person I want to hit already.
After having experienced the land of the absentee Archon, Traveler, how does it feel to know that our Archon and Adepti are here all around you in Liyue?
I mean, as much as I do love... I'm gonna say I prefer Month. No, you fucking...
Indeed. The weight of 3,700
about to be like, he would
years worth of
probably
history
smite my
runs
ass.
deepest in the true divinity of Liyue.
I fucking forget automatic autoplay.
Organizing the rite of parting should prove to be an enlightening part of your travels. Liyue is the most prosperous of the 7 nations, defended by deities and ruled by the Qixing. As such, the diplomatic maneuverings of the Fatui have gained no purchase here. Ningguang of the Qixing has always been on her guard against the Fatui.
And I love her for
That
it.
is in all likelihood why
As,
Child
like,
wants
isn't,
to
like-
make use of the Wangsheng funeral
Isn't
parlor's
that one guy from like
connections.
the leaks,
Huh.
like literally becoming
What
a
would
playable
Child
character?
get out of us doing the rite of parting anyway?
I neither know nor do I wish to know. As far as I am concerned,
An easy
the
way to
Fatui are
backstab us,
merely
I'm assuming.
financial
I don't know. I've
sponsors.
seen that.
I only wish for Liyue's traditions to endure. These are the advance funds that Child has
Is that why
provided.
you faked your death?
If you use them up, you can go to him to apply for any subsequent funding.
Wow.
He gave us money?
Well then, let us be off. The first step in our preparations shall be to obtain
I'm so
some
sorry.
prize Noctilucus jade worthy of a deity.
How much you want to bet I'm gonna forget which one to get? I hear it! And it's, oh my god. I will be right back. I have to go help get food because my mom just arrived with pizza, which I will get in a little bit. I'll be back. drink is cold, the drink is cold, the drink is cold, the drink is cold, the drink is cold. Cat food. Which I'm not going to eat on stream. We're not making this a joke anymore. Okay, those cinnamon sticks might go away. Oh, was there just silence when I left? Hello.
Welcome to the Jade Mystery, my good friends. Would you like to try your luck betting on Jade? This could be your lucky day. It's cheap and it's fun, and who knows, you just might strike it rich.
Betting? No, we're here for...
He looks like he's ready to kill someone!
What was it again?
Noctilucous Jade, of radiant grade at the very least.
I will eat these. Fuck, I'm not gonna eat
Radiant
the
grade,
pizza.
Noctilucous Jade? I see. You're not a tourist. My apologies.
Motherfucker's a
I have some
god.
here for your perusal. What do you think? The Jade Mystery is an old name in the jade business. Just look at that wonderful quality. Rex Lapis doesn't often bless us with such finery. Go on, pick whichever one you like.
These 3 pieces really do look pretty. Not like the ones you usually dig up. But how do we pick? Should we just grab one and go?
Oh? You want me to decide?
Yes,
That is fine as well.
you are literally...
If it were me, the answer would be simple.
Oh? And that would be...
I'll take them all, boss.
Oh, you act with such panache, good sir. I always knew you were not a man of ordinary caliber.
Oh, wait, boss! That one didn't count! We need to discuss it again!
There's no discussing it.
Hey! If we only need 1 for the ritual, aren't we wasting 3 times the more if we buy them all?
Oh, Mora.
Boyfriend.
It is as you say. I suppose I overlooked this particular
It's
aspect
child's money, it's
of the
fine.
transaction.
We have the money for it.
You
It's
not
child's.
think about Mora when buying things!
'Cause he's
If one must always consider Mora before acting, then in all things one is bound by Mora.
What?
All Mora is currency, but not all currency is Mora.
What? Is this how the rich live? Well, he knows a lot about big money, but not a lot about big savings.
No need to waver. Even when I am constrained by Mora, I have ways of working around my limitations. Evaluating the quality of Noctilucous Jade is indeed very tricky. As crude ore, there is little difference in texture, lustrousness, and internal pattern between good and bad jade. Only after the item made using Noctilucous Jade has taken shape
I
will
made my
you be
face.
able
I'm
to
so
see whether it is
sorry.
up to par or not. If you return
I
to those
see. Would
crafty
you like one?
merchants to quibble, they will counter by saying that your crafting bench is to blame, or that
I'm
your
so
heat
sorry.
control was poor.
Whoa!
Studying, by the
to
way,
think
I wish
it's
I
that
could.
easy to get cheated.
It's fine
But
if
there
you're
is a
studying.
way
That's
to truly
fine.
evaluate
So will
this
I
jade,
soon. I literally leave.
And
I
a true
improve.
insider would know it. A fool sees the pointer and misses
Finding the
moon.
mysteries for studying. Study.
What does that mean?
Don't be my ass.
If you point at the moon with your finger, a wise man
I'm not
knows
paying
that you are
attention to this.
pointing at the moon. While
As
a
a sushi.
fool will
Sushi is
only
fine.
see the
He was
finger.
washed and he's now
The
very
patterns,
fluffy and soft
the
and
facade.
snuggly.
These are all the finger.
And it is called
Noctilucous Jade
Shiver earlier
is a
today
mystical
got into a fight
stone
with
used
Chowie
to
because he
light
thought
up
he
the
was the
darkness.
strange gray cat.
And so its brightness is the important thing. It is the moon. Noctilucous Jade of excellent quality would have superior pyro affinity. In other words, The bluer and brighter the luster of the ore under high temperature, the higher its quality. I have imparted the priceless secrets of the jade trade to you. Now,
This is not
all
a rich
that's
man. This man's
left
broke
is to
as
put
fuck.
it into practice.
Priceless, huh?
Listen, he's a god, but he's broke.
Paimon's just sad that we might never be able to use it again.
And child's money, we're fine.
We're back to buy some rocks, boss. But can you let us burn them first?
Yo?
Burn them? You can't do that, my friends. If you were to do so, what would I have to sell? That would... well... fine. As you wish, then.
Joey needs to know his place then.
How about this? I can take a small sample of...
Yeah, it was so funny. I just opened the door to let him
take
in.
a bit of a loss.
And
We'll
Shiver
count it
like
as a
caught at
friendly
him and I was like,
gesture.
it's Chowie.
Don't
And they like
worry.
ran around my
I
house.
know the
And then they got to like the living room and
As
they
long
attacked
as
and I
we
was
can
like,
prove that it is good
it's
jade,
Chowie.
you will not take a loss.
All right, take these as samples. I've carved them off with a knife and tagged them to boot.
Aren't these too thin? Even
Why are you looking
paper's
so rough?
thicker. No, even a bug's wings are thicker. These are almost see-through.
Oh, you flattered me, but I have to be gentle with these rocks. They are my pride and joy. If I'd taken off even a bit more, it would have killed me.
But wouldn't something this thin go poof if we held it to the fire?
It can't be helped. Trying to deprive a merchant of his profits would be like forcing a ravenous wolf to vomit up the food in its stomach. Nonetheless, under the right conditions, these thin slices will serve.
What sort of conditions?
While we add the high temperatures using pyro, we can use hydro to reinforce it from within. This way, the samples will not disintegrate
The two things my
immediately.
party, I no longer fuck. I got rid of both my Hydro and Pyro.
Oh, sir, to think you were this learned. Thank you for your understanding.
Strictly speaking, asking for samples when we have not yet agreed to purchase the goods is unfair. Trade in Liyue must be based upon fairness.
Well, guess we just need to find a place to try this out. You mean at Wanmin Restaurant? As long as we do it when she's not in.
That would not do. It is a place where people come
Pizza
and
sounds
go.
so good right now.
They would be endained if the elemental
You want your
reaction
sign that
were
you
to
have
get out of
pizza?
control. We cannot take
I'm your
such
sign
a
to have
risk.
pizza. Go get pizza.
Oh, Paimon remembers we once saw this big pot down at the Data Upa Gorge in the camp
You
of
can
the
always
Hilly Trolls
always
from the
take
Midi
breaks.
tribe.
You don't have to like just study,
It's
study,
real
study. It's like
sturdy
study,
and
take
should
some
be able
breaks.
to take the elemental reactions.
So take a break and go get
Now,
pizza.
Let's pack those samples up and make a move.
Where am I going? Hey, yo, where'd that go? Oh my god! Thank you means a lot. I got you. This is coming from a college student. We went all the way back to goddamn Mondstadt. Okay. I spent too much money getting him.
It has been a long time since I last set foot in the Nation of Wind.
God, they sometimes just appear.
A friend of mine from Mondstadt would always bring a few bottles of locally brewed dandelion wine whenever he came to visit me in Liyue. It must be said that the famed liquor of the land of pastorals
Oh shit.
is far better than Sumeru's frigid snake wine.
That's the pot. It looks
Oh
like the
fuck, they're
Hilly
level
Trolls are
33.
still
Oh, this is
using
gonna
it.
go bad.
It's a bit impolite, but we gotta cut the line.
Hey, buckaroos.
Flag slide. And leap.
I gotta take that from you really quickly. Thank you. Forgot about that.
Flags up.
Now there's some over here. That was not the best. Go, 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 go.
Flag slide. And step.
Take a shield, bitch.
This isn't stage fighting.
How are you still alive? Probably because I am only level fucking 30.
Flags up. Observe.
Oh, damn it, I could have used one blade for this.
Flag slide. And leap.
I definitely broke off a little bit of the shield. Zoomy. It's a lot. College. You want college advice? Come to me. I'm literally going into my second semester,
There's
but
still soup in here. These hilly churls sure have big appetites.
Well, it's our lab
This
now.
soup looks like it could be used as our hydro-elemental protection. Let's fire it up and begin our experiment.
I was about to say, I literally don't have any Pydros or Electros in my, like, group. Ow!
We're ready to go. Paimon will help remember which one of the three is which. Use Pyro to keep making the pot hotter until we get the results we need.
Hey, guess what I do not have?
Mr. Zhongli said that the shinier and bluer the ore gets, the better it is. So, pay close attention.
You're asking an ADHD-induced dumbass. Use a pack. The beloved is back.
Outrider Amber, report.
Amber's back. I was like, can I not actually see which one?
Whoa, that light came from the first Noctilucous Jade.
Oh, god damn it.
Hilly Trolls are surrounding us again. Were they attracted by the light?
Probably.
Such nosy neighbors. Let's take care of them and continue again after.
I need to upgrade her shield, or her spear.
Flags up.
Her. Oh, I gotta get rid of you. You're the thorn in my side.
Flag slide. And leap.
I rely so much on her. Bye. How did you live so long? Can you tell which character I use so much? Alright, which one of you is shining? Alright, so it looks like that one in the back. It's pretty.
That light came from the second Noctilucous Jade, didn't it?
I'm going
More
to...
Hilly Trolls. They don't give up, do they?
No, not really.
Looks like they're mad that we ruined their food.
I fucking missed all of them. Yeah, I need some fire. Ow! Get out of here. Went the wrong direction I wanted to. This is why you level up your characters and not be me.
Flex up.
Bye.
Watch the costume.
I'm trying. People wonder why I use the ranged weapon. Awesome. Alright. Oh god.
Oh, that's bright! Too bright! That was the third Noctilucous Jade, wasn't it?
Oh shit, he bright.
It was so much shinier than the rest. Let's go with that one. Let's head back to the Jade Mystery to buy some jade, shall we?
Cool. Oh, I have one more left. Alright. Oh, that's about every tights. I was like, does Amber all of a sudden have a tattoo that I did not notice? Okay, where are actually... Okay, those two. Oh, son of... Is this the fucking Hilitroll? No. Also, ignore, like, all the things in my map. I literally have now just things placed. I have, like, areas where I can collect many things poked around. Because I was sick and tired of forgetting where I put them.
You're back, my friends. I've kept the goods for you. Which of them would you like?
The third one.
Exactly! That's the one Paimon remembers too!
See, I'm
No
not
problem.
that stupid.
If you have your eye on this one, you can have it.
Then we'll take a box of the third type of jade.
Done. All the same, and pardon me for asking, but I'm curious. Whatever do you need this much top-quality Noctilucous jade for?
We need to bribe someone.
I suppose it would not hurt to tell you. We need them to make implements
Ow.
for the rite of parting.
Ow, oh my god, my nose got
Parting?
really itchy.
Oh, dear. I'd heard the rumors, but had given much thought
I
to
have
them.
one more cinnamon twist.
This means that Rex Lapis really is... Oh, it's hard to believe. Even though the Jade Mystery has been in decline, we have always been under his protection. It is said that when our Lord lost his way while going incognito in the city 200 years ago, it was a spoon from the Jade Mystery that he had used to sample the local delights. Alas, alas, all things must pass. Well,
We're literally telling
if
stories of
this
life
is
to
to be
him.
used to say farewell to Rex Lapis, then I shall sell this to you at half the price.
Are you sure? You didn't want to even give us an inch before.
If not for our Lord's protection, this city wouldn't exist as it does now. No proprietor could earn money off such a thing.
It's child's money. While
I'm
wasting
sure
it.
Rex Lapis will feel your sentiment, boss.
In the safe hands of the Liyue Qixing and good honest merchants such as yourself, I for one believe that Liyue will continue to prosper as it always has done.
All right. Thank you, my friends. What's with me getting all sentimental like this? I'll practically be giving away all my fortune at this rate.
If I was actually in this game, I would probably get fucking
Now
smited.
that we've made our choice, let's take this Noctilucous jade back.
Also, I'm sorry, Ren, that you had to change the
Wait a
design of my
minute.
character because I
He
dyed
said
my
it was
hair.
half price, not that we could leave leave without paying.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. I must have forgotten to do that too. Let me see. As I thought, I didn't bring any.
Any what?
Mora, my apologies. Another oversight on my part.
Oh, that won't do. This isn't some small sum. Whew. That's a relief. Have a look.
It's fine. Just enough for half price. Though to be honest, it'd be alright even if the sum wasn't quite enough.
Well, it's settled then. Let's take this jade to Yujing Terrace. That's where we plan to hold the rite.
Look at you bossing everyone around. You didn't cough up a single Mora.
It seems that we must.
Boy, the rich
I
one.
will keep that in mind. Thanks, both of you.
Boy, the rich one for the money. Heading here first in case some shit happens. Hello. Thank you. As I'm a dumbass who literally forgets that my characters can get fucking sniped. And also forgets to fucking level them up.
May the Lord of Geo protect you
Ah.
and fortune find you.
We can leave the jade here. I have already called for a jewelsmith to shape them into the implements that we will need.
Nice.
Ah, yes. I have yet to go and see Child. So, as for the jewelsmith's remuneration...
Guess we can't
Cross
do
our
anything
fingers
else.
that the rich one will give us
Is
shit.
this where we're doing the rite of parting?
Again, I bullied Child so much,
Yes.
even though he's literally...
I have already rented this location, and have begun making preparations for the rite.
So we're just using
The
the...
Liu Qixing have agreed to this arrangement.
Gotcha.
But when something this big happened here, should suspects like us really be at the crime scene? We might get caught by the Millilith.
I would assume we're pardoned from
since
that.
we got back from Dwayne Karst, none of those pesky Millilith soldiers have come chasing after us.
I was about to assume, I'm about to say, I'm assuming we're pardoned.
Also, the, Rex Lapis vessel.
Also, wasn't the entire place, like, smashed?
Traditionally, we call it the Exuvia.
Ah, right! That's what it was called. You seem to know everything, Mr. Zhongli. So, was
I
this
wonder why.
Exuvia hidden away by the Qixing? I mean, we haven't even figured out who the murderer is.
One must think that they already have someone in mind. Or perhaps they already know. Surely they must have found all the evidence that there is to find here. These things are for the authorities in Yujing Terrace to consider. Trying to help would probably only add to their troubles. Before the rite is conducted, the Exuvia will be kept temporarily in the Golden House.
Golden House?
The only mint in Liyue, which is to say the only mint in Teyvat. All the Mora that flows throughout the world is minted there.
Wow! Oh, no! Paimon wasn't thinking about anything bad.
I was about to be like,
Paimon's
Paimon's thinking about food.
But why do you know this, Mr. Zhongli?
Since the rite of parting has the approval of the Qixing, It is a semi-official event. As such, there is already some limited information available. Perhaps each has their
And
motives.
the child. And the child.
But this is the capital of commerce. A little exploitation once in a while is not unacceptable. In Liyue, where the god of contracts reigns, only
without
contracts
bitches.
may not be betrayed. I, for one, have no issue with little maneuvers outside their remit. Well then, we should go and prepare the perfumes used in the rite.
Perfumes? Where'll we get those? Do we buy them?
Yes.
No. Perfumes used to honor the gods must be freshly decocted. The quality of the silk flowers we require is also special.
I don't think I have silk
Silk
flowers.
flower
on me.
petals contain a fibrous material of good quality, often used in brocade making. Its scent, however, is most elegant, and is especially suited for solemn events, like giving offerings to gods and adepti.
It's time for Zhongli's lectures on high society again.
We shall not speak of the details right now.
Oh my god, I
Follow
love
me. We shall go to the merchants to purchase our ingredients.
I get it. Nobody speaks like this. But I'm gonna bully him for it.
May the Lord of Geo protect you.
Hey yo, bitch got $30. bitch got that good money. Oh fuck. I didn't even mean to hit that. Again, I probably could have just used the waypoint to get here, but it's fine. What? Oh, it's the same. I was like, why is Paimon like going off?
You can't beat the atmosphere here.
Oh, it's lower. Oh shit! Don't buy me.
Hey, boss, do you sell silk flowers here?
I like how Paimon just calls everyone boss.
Silk flowers? We certainly do. Which kind would you like?
Which kind? The good kind?
The good
The best
guy.
kind? Remind Paimon what kinds there are again.
Ugh, you ignorant shoppers. Always coming in here with your stupid questions.
Bitch, I can go get them.
Golden House Maiden, Valley Weaver, and Fate's Yearning. One of each to start with, if you don't mind.
My goodness, this gentleman is quite the connoisseur.
That's,
You two
oh my
must
god, my
be
own.
his servants. Please refrain from any further attempts to contribute.
This is what I get for calling Paimon emergency mode.
Please peruse at your leisure. Do let me know if you have any
Oh
further thoughts.
my god.
Silk flowers exhibit different properties based on how their environmental
okay.
conditions differ from their
Forgot I had
ancestral
pockets.
habitat. Nevertheless, these are fine specimens, excellently preserved. Just look at the abundant foliage here, and these stamens, glamorous as a maiden of the Golden House. This strain is an evergreen, and mostly grows under complex hydrological conditions. By contrast, this variety thrives in any dark, damp location, often in large clusters. Morphologically, it is distinguished by the profusion of petals and densely packed stamens, though its powerful scent gives it away just as easily. Lastly, this strain is quite the recluse. Unlike its exuberant cousins, flowers and foliage are minimal, and when in season, It has a
I
subtle
feel so,
yet
I
enduring scent.
feel like the voice actor just looked at
It
this
was
and was
first
like, yep.
discovered by the ancients when they scaled the mountains in search of the Adepti. Silk flowers have all but disappeared from the wild today due to geographical changes over Liyue's
It's almost been
history.
an hour.
Most are not grown by horticulturalists.
Wow, a true connoisseur. Most of that was news even to me.
I possess but a smattering of trivial knowledge. My traveler friend is the one to watch. They are on track to set foot in every corner of the world.
Oh, Mr. Zhongli, you're way too humble. So, which silk flower did you want anyway?
I've only been to 2 out of the
I'll take
3.
them all, boss.
Again?
How can I put this? When purchasing opera tickets,
As
it
we
is
literally have an
natural to
opera singer
decide
in
based
our
on which singer has the most melodious voice. The same logic applies when purchasing a pet bird. But this silk flower purchase is not an analogous case. The same logic does not apply.
Again, he's a god,
Perhaps you
so
don't know. Tradition states that we
I
should
have to
decoct perfume from different subspecies of silk flower when making an
There's
offering to a statue of the seven.
I'm gonna send this to my
Rex
DM and be like,
Lapis
hey,
will
there's
then make his
subspecies
own
of
choice
flowers.
between the scents.
Please don't
Like several
do that.
other tedious and
Please.
complicated traditions, this one has become simplified over time. But this is the only rite of parting to take place for one of the seven in 3,700 years. As such,
Fuck me.
I do think we should honor tradition down to the last detail in this case. Now that's settled, a question. Do you have any Mora on you?
Yes, I do, you broke bitch.
Forgot to bring money again? Zhongli.
If I may interject, did I hear you say that these flowers are to be an offering to the Lord of Geo himself?
Yes,
Maybe.
in a sense.
Gosh, well, why didn't you say so?
He a broke bitch, but he also a
Heard
god.
the awful news about what happened at this year's Rite of Dissension. It would be bad luck to say it out loud, but I've been worried about our dear Lord ever since.
I mean, you're looking at him.
I'm worried that everything I've heard is true. Since these flowers will be used to glorify our Lord, they're free of charge. Just don't forget to pass on my regards.
Are you serious?
Why wouldn't I be?
Because you literally...
I would be nobody if not for Rex Lapis.
You basically told us to shut the fuck up.
If he hadn't written those poems in praise of my wares, they'd only be worth a fraction of what I
Literally
can sell
in the
them for
present.
today.
Huh. So much folklore here revolves around Liyue's deity making cameo appearances in support of local businesses.
Thank you, boss. I think I speak for all of us when I say that your generosity has saved our skins.
Our skins? You were the one who forgot to bring money.
Please, it's the least I could do.
So, now that we've got the flowers, how do we make the perfume?
Yeah, how the fuck do we...
Ideally with the help of an expert. Unfortunately, none of my acquaintances have personal experience in the art of decoction.
Get showering. I'm completely
Talk
fucking...
about first world problems.
Hence, I need you to help by asking around in the city. Try the common folk, especially women.
So this time we get to go around town looking for nice-smelling ladies to talk to? Paimon likes this job.
I will wait for you near the statue of the Seven. Meet me there when the perfume is ready.
Maybe we can find some good candidates at the Adventurers Guild. Let's ask Lan. She's master of the Liyue branch, right?
Oh my god, we are actually doing this. Oh my god. Cool. I meant to press B. Where are we going? I love the music here though. It's so nice. Move. I've looked for that many Hello, lag.
I just like to make people smile.
What should I try this time?
Hey, hey, hey.
Lan, we need to ask you for a favor.
I stopped accepting commissions a long time ago. Sorry, you two, but you'll just have to ask another adventurer.
Who's that voice actress?
Oh, it's not that kind of favor. It's just...
You know,
Wow. Just wow. Do I look like the kind of girl who wears perfume to you? I think you're underestimating the kind of person I am.
Well, Paimon thinks you smell amazing. So come on, Lan. What's your secret if not perfume?
Emergency food!
Now that you mention it, yes, there is something. What is that scent? Oh, it must be from the Qingxin flowers I picked on the way back. I forgot I still had them with me.
Oh my god.
Aha! The truth is out. Lan's got a soft spot for wildflowers.
No, they were for medicinal use only. Anyway, this is a pointless conversation.
That is true,
If
you
want
can't
to know
use
about
certain flowers.
perfume, try talking to Qimei.
The fortune teller, right? Paimon remembers she smells pretty good. Thanks, Lan. See you around.
Maybe? I was like, I don't remember speaking with any of these people.
Hello. How may I help?
Hi, completely random questions. Do you know how to...
Question.
You know what I'm
Perfume? I rarely think to use it, let alone about how to make it myself. That said, some of the cosmetics I use are scented. Perhaps that's the cause of this confusion. Since I usually set up my stall by the docks, I avoid perfume like the plague, because Celestia forbid those lusty sailors catch a whiff and come hunting for the source.
That's the worst thing Paimon's heard all day.
Are we actually... Who the fuck are we going to?
While we're on the subject, have you never heard anyone mention Yingar's homemade perfume?
Nope.
Yingar? Oh, as in scent of spring Yingar?
Yes, that's her. Many a rich family's daughter has gotten her to make perfume for them. Apparently, her homemade product is better than anything.
And yet we
you'll find
didn't
on the
put two and
market.
two together to go see her
Great.
first. I mean, I understand, but like, goddamn.
That's we need. Finally, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, the shirt likes to fall a lot, so we're just gonna throw it on my hoodie, on like my hair. All right, where is she at? See, I don't trust myself to make that jump.
Well, hello. You found me at last. I've
She's
been
so
waiting
pretty.
for you.
Oh, I don't.
What? How did you know we were coming?
People talk.
Oh, I heard a rumor about a couple who were snooping around town looking for a sweet-smelling lady. Actually, I was starting to worry you wouldn't find me. This is the ultimate test of my appeal, after all.
Oh boy, I just picked the
Snooping
box under my
around?
desk.
Why
Ow!
are you making it out like we're bad people?
Because you are literally
What can I
emergency.
say? People love to talk. Maybe you ought to be more discreet in the future if you don't want word to get around.
You have emergency food
Relax.
and a traveler.
I know why you're here. You want to get your hand on my homemade perfume, don't you? What kind would you like? 3 in one go. My goodness.
Hi.
You have extreme tastes for someone your age. Maybe the rumors I heard were true after all. You're on the prowl and need some sweet-smelling ammunition? Is that the best you could come up with? Even if you were genuinely offering perfume to a deity, that doesn't explain why you'd need 3 kinds.
We are a child!
Sorry, your story just doesn't hold water.
Zhongli was right. People don't remember this tradition anymore.
I'm like sometimes.
As one of my favorite poems goes, "O cherry tree, begrudge not thy blossoms as they are deflowered in the
I will
spring,
fucking-
for come winter, even thy sturdiest wood shall wither."
That went over Paimon's head a little.
In short, I'm happy to help. Traveler, you can be my assistant, but you'd better make sure I'm the only person on your mind while you're hanging around with me.
I'm a child, ma'am.
So, where is a good place for making sweet, sweet perfume? Where is that? Mondstadt? We're only making some perfume. Somewhere closer to home will do.
We get to go see my girl! I was like, I literally just looked at it and I was like, this seems... Xiangling! Baby!
I've had a word with Chef Mao. We can start work now.
Where is she? I want to hug her. I want to hug the chaotic one.
Are you ready to please me?
What did you say?
I meant make me proud, as my assistant, obviously. While I'm setting up, you can go and fetch some water.
Is this Luce's voice actress? Oh. What?
Try something new at the Wanmin restaurant.
Around it?
Really got a lot going for it.
This works.
People must have iron stomachs.
Okay, yeah, I did look behind it. Oh god. Help. You didn't see anything.
This water will do nicely.
Good, I found it behind.
Now, I need you to extract the silk flower essence using a crafting bench.
This sounds
Perfume
like Luce's
making
voice
uses
actress,
an
but I'm
altogether
probably wrong.
different technique from alchemy. Here, let me teach you.
Ah shit,
Very
it's alchemy, I'll call
carefully
someone.
Take hold of the mortar and pestle. Gently does it. You need to keep your wrist firm so your hand doesn't slip. Now use your strong hand to stir it with a persistent rhythm. Keep going until the juices start to come out. Ooh, you're a natural, like a fish to water. Now take these and try it out on your own using a nearby crafting bench. Don't forget to do all three. They look visually identical during the essence extraction process, but I will put them into separate containers when the perfume is ready.
What the fuck did I just learn? Oh, I heard Beta's voice actress. Okay. Actually, wait. Someone has a character bonus. Not for this. Oh. Yeah, this is all stuff I need for later. Back we go.
Try something new at the Wanmin restaurant.
Wow, this is some exquisite silk flower essence. On to the next stage, the most important one of all. The essence is placed into water and simmered over a low heat until most of the water has boiled off.
I fucking sometimes forget.
You must take care to control the heat during this process. If the temperature goes too high, it will affect the scent. So please focus on controlling the heat. Don't waste a drop of that essence.
Oh, thank God. I was like, please tell me I don't actually
All
fucking
3
do this.
perfumes are ready. And you, my friend, were a wonderful assistant.
And I'm a child.
Testament to the lengths you will go to for romance. It's so rare to see nowadays.
I was thinking of you the whole...
Wow, you actually remembered my throwaway comment.
Yes.
You know, you're cuter than people give you credit for. If I didn't have my guard up, I can see how easily one could be taken in. Anyway, shall I give you a brief overview of each scent? It might just help you match the right scent.
Okay, we're in a child's body, but we're like thousands of years
Paimon
old.
wants to hear this.
This first one is sweet as candy, straight out of a fairy tale. Younger women will love it. The second one is for those with more refined tastes, the first choice for daughters of high society.
Okay, so the second one.
Finally, the third one has a soft but lingering scent, like a mist that captures the last light of dusk. Mature women adore this one. All clear? Don't get them mixed up now. You'll ruin the mood.
I think I got it. I'm
good.
First one's candy,
Be sure
second
to come
one.
visit if you ever need help with anything.
First one is
okay?
for young ladies, daughters, and then mature ladies.
I'll leave you with some parting words.
Oh God.
One who tries to sail 3 boats simultaneously. Come and
let's take these.
Yeah. How did he get? There's one right there. Well, you have to go. Oh no, that's death territory. Never mind. I know, because I have to walk through it to get all the locations. That was not a fun thing to do. Hey, buddy. I'm gonna sacrifice my wallet to try to get him.
We've brought the perfumes, Mr. Zhongli. Did we take too long? You were just staring up at the statue.
It's fucking him. Or it's... There you go.
Oh, you're back. Don't worry, I haven't
Reminiscing
waited long.
about all the people this man
Compared
has
to the
probably
watch that
murdered.
Rex Lapis's statues have kept over Liyue.
Yes, I
This
believe
was
him.
but a brief moment.
Well, how can a person compete with a statue?
That is true. Well, have you brought the perfumes?
Yes.
3 sets, and not one less.
Thank you both. Let us offer them up.
Oh, is this because I think it is?
This is the first kind of perfume. Miss Yinger said that it's sweet as a dream, and it's liked by younger ladies. This is the second kind. It's got an elegant smell, and the daughters of high society love it. The third kind has a gentle but lingering fragrance. Something like the dusk mist. And it's a favorite of mature ladies. Oh, what was that? That's the one older ladies like, right?
Yep.
Does that mean that Rex Lapis is actually an older lady?
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Oh, I'm so glad
Rex
you think
Lapis
that's a
has
joke.
taken on countless forms. Perhaps that really was one of them.
What a shame. We only got to see the giant dragon form, and... Let's hope the Qixing can catch the real killer.
You're looking at another form.
We can leave that to the authorities. Let us focus on the fond farewell for Rex Lapis.
So, we finished another step in our preparations. What's next?
Because I'm curious. Because I feel like Child is really going to betray
Next,
us.
I would like the 2 of you to help me borrow the cleansing bell.
Oh, what?
Cleansing
Oh, never
bell?
mind. I know what that is. My entire
At
brain.
present, a friend of mine named Madame Ping is the guardian of the cleansing bell. She lives near Yujing Terrace. If you ask her, she will know what to do.
Sure, but aren't you going to come with us?
He's going to say it's a statue, isn't he? Hey,
I have certain reasons why I cannot be there in person. Please, do this for me.
Man, why has he gotta be so secretive this time?
Oh, just wait. Oh, that's right. I do have to. That was oh fuck! I remember I got that. All right. It's pretty close, and I don't think there's like any. Is there any teleport? It's not fucking close. Hell. I'm just a dumbass. Don't mind me, just walking through. Absolutely did not commit a crime. Certainly don't have war. I feel like the Traveler probably has war crimes. Well, the shit we did, we definitely have war crimes. Actually, not me.
All things must change. It's nothing. It's nothing. I just thought it a great shame that so many of these glazed lilies have wilted.
What happened to them?
Back in my day, people said that glazed lilies can read human hearts. If they heard beautiful sounds like laughter and singing, they would also bloom joyfully. But if they heard too much wild gossip or slander, they would quickly wither away.
So that means these flowers feel what's happening in Liyue?
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yes, the rumors of Rex Lapis's death are no small matter. They are everywhere. Some say it was a Fatui plot. Others say that the Qixing made it all up. And still others think that that which lies in the deep is breaking free. This harbor is like a mountain of dry tinder.
Well, I mean, it's not like
one spark.
Like every
and the fire
act,
will consume us
the
all.
Celeste thing gets closer.
Well,
so we
I
pissing
shall
off
say
somebody.
No more. This old woman's grown too old and naggy.
I like you.
Did you have something to say, young? Borrow something? Oh, you've come to borrow the cleansing bell, yes?
Maybe.
Apart from that, I don't have anything of value that you youngsters might want. But it was not originally mine either. That trinket used to belong to a friend of mine. I was a vain beauty when I was young, and I would pester him for that bell all the time. He could not dissuade me, and so he gave it to me. But he said that if someone should come to borrow it, I must not be loath to give it away. It has been many years, and who knows how many times someone has come to borrow this bell. Still, though, I can't recall when it started. It's been a long time since anyone has come to borrow it. These old bones are so slow to look for things. I doubt you can wait that long.
That's right, Granny. We'll follow you back home and search for it ourselves.
Damn!
And, we can help with chores if you have any too.
Come on!
All right, children. There is no need to worry. I didn't place the bell very far away.
Do you live near here, Granny?
She has a name!
Whoa, but this is Eugene Terrace. It's gotta be expensive.
Oh, an old lady like me can't afford to buy a place in this city. See this ceramic teapot? My entire household is in here.
How does that work?
And you go, Paimon!
There's no way Paimon would fit in there. And why do you need Paimon
There's the
to go
sass.
in anyway?
Because Zach Aguilar, who's the voice of either, said when they were first doing
youngsters. I simply mean that the bell is somewhere inside this teapot.
The Traveler was supposed to be a lot more like
quite
snarky and like rude to
borrow it.
Paimon. And I'm like, I'm now doing
If
that
you can
because I enjoy
find
the
it.
banter that they have. That's some whimsical magic. Are we going inside the teapot? Is that how we get the little house? Wait, is this how we get the house? Is this how we get the little teapot? Oh! That's a spider. Ma'am, that's a spider.
Where are we? What just happened?
Youngsters, this is where this old woman keeps all her things. Quickly now, go fetch that bell.
Whoa! That sounds like Granny's voice. So, this is her teapot? What's going on?
Oh dear, so many cobwebs. It seems I really haven't cleaned it in a long while.
I'm sorry to whoever likes spiders,
Sorry
but
to
fuck
trouble you
them at the
children.
moment.
Please help an old lady clean up.
I'm gonna fucking die.
Flags up!
Let's have fun, shall we?
Your grand finale!
Damn it, I need to hit that.
I'll race you there!
Move. Now.
That's more like it.
Yeah, because they explode. Fuck me, I guess. Oh, I forgot her bow, her arrows hit every target. How did that miss? Bye. If anyone yells at me, I just got this. Hallelujah. Also, Ren is a fucking god because I pulled for him on a whim, and I fucking got him. And then I did another 10 pull and I got his weapon, and I was like, while Ren was in the room, like, Ren's a fucking god at this point.
Did you notice? The cobwebs were made of elemental energy.
Sure did!
How long has it been since Granny last swept this place?
Get out of my way. Can I knock him off the edge? That'd be ideal. At least some of that works. Hell yeah! I love it when that works!
You know, with such a special teapot and the cleansing bell, do you think this old granny could also be an adeptus?
I'm gonna say this. I don't like this.
Paimon's more and more convinced that she's an adeptus.
Shut up!
Don't they all live in Jueyun Karst? Why would she stay in the city?
I'm in the slime. Again, I no longer have Lisa in my party. Oh, I didn't realize I had the thing. Where's the shield?
Black fly. Observe.
Again, oh shit! Nice. Where's a shield? Ah, son of a bitch, I gotta worry about you. And this is why I have a character that I can aim from a distance. So I don't gotta deal with shit like this. Awesome. Bye! Ooh. Aha! Oh god!
Black fly. Observe. The curtain's not down yet.
Oh, shit.
True tragedy.
I see that fucking bubble. Hey! Get out of here. Pretty sure Amber is my lead. That's not what I wanted to do. Can I just run over them? Yep, I can! And is it just them two? I just forget they're fucking immune. Not what I want to happen. Shit.
Prepare to be blown away.
Just get out of my sight, please. I always forget how fucking annoying slimes are. No, 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 no. God damn it. There we go. Okay.
I'll race you there.
Oh my god.
Me.
Hey. This is not going well.
Boring.
Are you fucking kidding me? Shut up, Thun. You are literally not important at the moment. Let me just, you know, casually beat the shit out of this really quickly. Oh, that's gonna hurt like a bitch. There we go. Aggressive click mode activate. Oh my god, I hate that. There's no such thing as God. Oh my god. God's not real. Fuck it. I don't do a lot of damage with him. Oh my god. Fuck. I hate that. There we go. I don't do a lot of damage with this, but... Oh, that's gonna kill him. I have to be careful. That's cool. Oh no, people are gonna get mad at me because I did that. But does it look like I give a shit? I love doing that. I'm leveling up the party to 40 after this.
How many levels does this teapot have? It would be nice if we had one of these too. Or at least we wouldn't have to camp outside.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna be able to win this. Just in case.
At least we're going to a statue of the 7.
Please be the fucking end. Thank fuck.
Oh, you found it. Youngsters are so quick on their feet.
We're updating the party to level 40.
Let me see. All right, that'll do.
I'm leveling up the party to 40 after this bullshit.
Oh, in and out in no time. You youngsters really are quick. The Qixing. Those children stopped letting my friends and I into their council long ago.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't think she's Adepti.
Still, they've done well recently. We old folks are content to be
I have
idle.
a teapot now?
Paimon kinda knows what you mean.
I have a teapot?
But is also kinda confused. Are you really giving us the bell just like that, Granny?
I fought slimes that were 7 levels higher than me, I fucking hope.
Happened to Rex Lapis and then we come running up asking for it?
Oh,
Again, I'm cold in my room, but I'm wearing shorts.
Liyue Harbor has been through a great deal in its
Do
history.
laundry and
In that
switch
time, it has seen the
to
departure
my
of
computers.
countless Adepti. But no matter what, we have always performed the rite of parting first before any other matters. To cry, "Catch the murderer," at the top of one's lungs, but ignore the rite of parting. That, to me, is what is wrong-headed.
Yeah.
Now that you have come to borrow the bell, I guess that perhaps an old friend of mine has finally decided to take matters into their own hands. So, why would I be unwilling to lend you the bell?
What if your friend doesn't return it?
Well, if it came to that, they would find a certain old lady knocking at their door. We haven't met in a while anyway. It would be nice to share a drink and chat.
Rex,
well,
they're your fucking friends.
You must have things to do. Since you have the bell, you should return. Oh, and do tell the person who sent you that if they have time, they can come over for tea. I don't have much to offer, but you can always count on an old lady for a pot of tea.
I love her, man.
We will. Thanks, Granny.
I fucking love her. I love getting achievements all of a sudden. Where did this come from? Oh my god. that one hurt.
Please be mindful of your personal safety.
I'm just fucking sprinting. No. How the fuck did you get so fast? Hey, friend. I got the bell.
Indeed.
I love
This
Grandma
is the
disappearing.
cleansing bell. It's in good condition. Let's place the perfume we've prepared inside.
Oh. How do you know?
Of
Mom?
course.
We
How would
have
I
to
know
do
that the
gold
bell
just
was with
because,
her
and also I want to
otherwise?
fuck Melee Duelies before I have to lose them.
That's suspicious. But if you don't want to talk about it, we won't pry.
Yeah, you will.
Yes, that old granny asked us to tell you something. If you have the time, you can come over for tea. I don't have much to offer, but you can always count on an old lady for a pot of tea.
That tone does not suit you. Still, her teapot is indeed very good. There are none better for brewing tea. When a suitable time arrives, I'll bring a spot of fine tea and pay her a visit.
So what's the next step in our preparations?
Please tell me that's everything.
Next, we need to purchase kites.
I'm kidding, I do want to scream.
Ooh, Paimon loves kites! Are you taking us kite flying? Is this our break time?
No. Kites are children's toys, yes. But they also play various symbolic roles in Liyue's rituals. I will explain it to you. But our next course of action should probably be to purchase the kites first.
Oh, sure. Curiouser and curiouser.
Are we... Is it since I'm in quest it's not leveling up? Okay, well first things first, because I said I would do this. I fucking kill the people, goddamn! Oh!
Demons do not stop for the raid. Move.
Shut up! Shut up, you bitch! I love him, goddamn it! Oh, whoa. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of people that are like barely even level. Okay. Level up. Oh shit, if I level them up to 40, I can't. I'll go to 35. And then do the rest later. Let the bank account suffer a little bit. And then I know I need to update all the rest of their shit. Nice. Okay. Max health 5,000. That works. And that. There we go. Okay, I do need to get more of those, but again, she's so pretty, and I do have to get the weapons up. I got that damn thing. Okay. Teleport. Let's go get some kites.
The rain stopped. I don't concern myself with the weather.
His lines make me want to punch someone, but at the same time, I love him.
Ah, sir, you're here. The 7 kites you asked for have been made to order. Would you like to take them now?
Yes, thank you.
It's gonna be the most easiest swimmer. I don't have
It's
to.
rare to see customers who want to buy this
It's
type
gonna be the
of
easiest
kite
thing, and I don't have to fight
nowadays.
something.
In the early days, we used to get orders from people of all walks of life. Well, this is Mr. Zhongli from the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor, so he's probably well-versed in all these walks of life.
He's just a grandpa.
We've talked about a whole bunch of things while traveling with him. He seems to know Liyue's favorite topics, money and government, really well, but he likes talking about less useful topics instead.
Well, that's because I prefer to share fun things with you.
Children's toys are very fun things, that's for sure. I enjoy watching the children at play as much as anyone else. But there is more to it than that. Finely crafted toys are well loved by children, but this craft itself has been honed over thousands of years, and there is meaning behind that. I have made kites in Liyue for 40 years, and I am intimately familiar with the forms passed down from my ancestors. The meaning of these 7 kites is far from banal.
Indeed. These are decorations used in the rite of parting. The 7 kites represent the 7.
I took the liberty of coloring outside the lines when doing the insignia of the Animo Archon. As for the kite that honors the Geo Archon, one must follow the contract given right down to the last letter.
Oh
These
shit,
patterns are ancient,
someone,
and
like,
you can also find them in the
not
Golden
go through the
House.
contract?
Ah, Paimon's heard that name before.
Paimon, stop talking.
The design of this kite displays a firm grasp on the cyclicality and eternity so dear to the Electro Archon. These markings of tree
the legend
and leaf
herself.
pay due honor to wisdom in the passage of time.
AK, the bitch is gonna
All
kick my
this
ass
on a
later, which I will be
single
okay
kite.
with.
Truly astonishing. Justice flows across the surface of the waters. War rages like a flame. As does that which the Cryo Archon once... Yes. These details are masterfully done.
The compliments of a learned man truly are pleasant.
Well then, Granny Shen, I shall take these back with me. As for the payment...
Well, allow me.
There he is. There's the bitch. There's the rich one we get to bully.
Hey, it's Child!
No, I was merely
It's
passing
the one we
through.
bully money.
I see
one
Mr.
we
Zhang
steal
Li's
money
the same as ever.
from.
When paying, well, when getting others to pay for him, he neither looks at the price tag nor his wallet. He knows a great deal about money, and about the trials of the common man. He just doesn't consider poverty to be something that could ever happen to him. Or perhaps you could say that he cannot imagine himself lacking money.
How has he not died of hunger yet?
Child, you are as fond of jokes as ever. Well then, since we've purchased our kites without incident, there's no need to take a break before moving to the next step in our preparations. The rite of parting requires helping hands as well as materials. We should be able to find some people near the harbor.
I've said this a million times. Amber was the only
by
one
the
in this
way,
game who
take this
actually
bag of
truly
money.
helped us with
You
like
probably
without
won't want to let
anything.
Zhang Li do the
Everyone
bargaining,
else has not
if
helped
you know
when
what
we
I mean.
asked. Even though
Seems I missed out on some interesting information.
Even though this bitch really says he'll leave
I
this.
suppose I'll just have to find a more opportune moment next time.
Shut up. I feel like you will legally betray us. Alright. Find the 3. Perfect. Who's close?
Hiring help? Sure. But let me just say first that I'm a reserve member of the Adventurers Guild. I take adventuring commissions, but I don't do anything
I'll commission you to fly the sky.
Adventure? Venturing into the mountains to capture a few crystal flies seems adventurous enough.
Eh? That's not hard. Almost a bit too easy for a reserve adventurer. Never mind. I'll only charge you 15,000 Mora. What say you?
A most fair price.
No one negotiate! 15,000? Mora on hand. Oh, 50,000. Oh, 50,000. Bet. Never mind.
A pleasure doing business with you.
That'd be like, again, it's child's money.
Try something new at the Wan Min restaurant.
Again, because he's probably gonna end up stabbing me in the back. Hi, friend.
A full day of odd jobs at Yujing Terrace.
I don't know. I don't trust child.
No problem. 25,000 per day. A fair trade, yes?
Whoa, that's expensive. Could you give us a bit of a discount on account of the whole Hero of Mondstadt thing?
Hero of Mondstadt? Never
I'm
heard
opening
of
something in my background.
Well, you may never have heard of this hero, but it seems you've heard of Mora nonetheless. Thus, I will simply pay the whole sum.
Bitch, you don't have money. Bitch, you do not have money. Why is my internet all of a sudden so bad? Okay, 25. There. Oh god. Oh fuck.
That's too little. Hard.
Again, since it's child's money, I would. But again, we have one more person we have to talk to.
This price will do. No loss to me for a day's work.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. We're just gonna use the rest of the money to talk to the other guy. But again...
Oh, help? Sure. I, Tick, always put in 100% effort into everything I do. Of course, there'll be a premium if you want me to give 110%. So what's the job?
Let me see. We are still missing some wooden implements over at Yujing Terrace.
Ooh,
they aren't uncommon objects, so I didn't make any special preparation.
No problem. That'll be 20,000 Mora for a single trip. How does that sound?
Done.
We brought a little too.
This is all you got? Then no can, child. No. He's putting up the money? Oh, still no. How about this? Let's make a trade. I'll take what you're offering. Get me a single Chinkson flower, and I'll consider that.
Guess we've got no choice.
Yeah, I was about to be like, I'm pretty sure I have a flower.
Have you brought the goods? Hey, that's pretty good. These things are pretty rare, and I have no idea where I'd find them.
Oh god. Oh, wait, something happened in my background. Alright, cool.
With this Chinxin flower, I should be able to pacify my daughter tonight. I'll make sure the work is done before I return home.
No, I feel bad. Whoa! Sorry, child! Actually, I don't give a fuck. Knowing you're probably gonna drop kick my ass, I'm not sorry for this. Hey, friend. We have nothing left.
All finished then? Splendid. Any leftover cash is yours to keep.
God damn it!
A favor for the Fatui should never go unrewarded.
You think you can buy us off with some loose change? No way! Paimon demands to know when the next payment is coming.
Well, how does this sound? You give me the information I need, and maybe I'll leave the Northland Bank's vaults open and unattended for half an hour.
What info do you need?
No!
Huh. Does that mean you know what he's after?
Are you forgetting what happened in Mondstadt?
Yikes! You're right! Signora!
Even I like...
You both need to calm down. I don't know what's gotten into you. Just what is this about? The atmosphere got so tense all of a sudden.
Signora tried to murder my friend! Ah, shit.
Next, we need some everlasting incense. For this, we need to go to Boo Boo Pharmacy, the finest pharmacy in all of... Is everything okay?
Everything is fine. I was just informing them that they need not return the surplus Mora. Now, if you'll excuse me,
I would have known I would have
must
wasted
be
it
going.
all. But again, it's Child's money. I don't want it.
Paimon definitely felt like Child wasn't happy with us just now.
Oh, cool. These are just new achievements coming in. Nice. How much? I don't even... How much stuff do I have? Ooh. Ah! Fuck! Not... I can only do 2 pulls. Which, again, is not too terrible. I wish I could do, more. Because I want her. Okay. Oh, this is fucking... Oh, this is fucking pretty! I never paid attention to this! Oh, this is...
Huh. The reception is deserted. And it seems kinda spooky in here. Hello? Is anybody there?
Welcome to Boo Boo Pharmacy.
Huh? Did you hear that? Where did it come from?
The reception, it seems.
How about you go check it out and...
It's
Paimon will
Ching!
bring up the rear.
I know that cute little sprite anywhere! Ching!
So many medicines, but no cure for heartache.
It's the zombie!
Oh, there you are. But you can't even reach the counter. Joke's on you. Paimon floats, so height is no
My head's a bit early for
restriction.
Ching tomorrow. Good luck and funny need to say.
Anyway, there's something weird about this
I
one
will
over here.
try.
What's the talisman doing on her forehead? It can't be. She's a zombie.
Welcome to Boo Boo Pharmacy. I am Chi-Chi.
It's Chi-Chi.
Once upon a time, Chi-Chi died. Then, Chi-Chi was saved by the Adepti. Now, Chi-Chi is a zombie.
Such a nonchalant delivery.
Something like this would be unimaginable in Mondstadt.
No, it wouldn't.
Hello, little girl. Do you sell everlasting incense here?
Pretty sure Gigi's like...
Excuse me, sir. Did you bring your prescription?
Who's her voice actress?
Surely no prescription is
It's
needed
Christy.
to purchase everlasting incense. It's not a controlled substance.
Wait.
Chi-Chi can get your medicine. But only if you show
Wait.
Chi-Chi your prescription. These are Chi-Chi's orders from Chi-Chi.
Oh, nope. I was thinking about someone else. I know a lot of people in the cast like play two characters. And I thought Chi-Chi's voice actress was one of them.
Zombies are limited to acting within the confines of their orders. And somehow in this case, the zombie issues her own orders to herself. My dear Chi-Chi, we didn't bring a prescription, I'm afraid. But we do hope that you can still help us find some everlasting incense.
Okay then.
How did you manage that?
You can twist her words.
But Chi-Chi helps you. You help Chi-Chi. Only fair.
Since when do customers need to do favors for customer service staff?
Never mind. Just think of it as a peer-to-peer transaction.
You really have someone
That
made out
way
of clay in
everybody
Mondstadt.
wins. Sometimes in
That is a
Liyue,
direct call
the
out.
art of the deal is simply about victory via mental gymnastics.
What?
Go to Mount Tianheng, find the Guizhong Ballista, and hunt a cocoa goat. Please and thank you.
What?
Guizhong Ballista.
If this is no main I'm ending stream, I don't want to
have
do
heard
the
of
main
this
right
device before.
No,
It's a kind
no,
of
I'm gonna say this.
crossbow
I don't like
turret
doing domains.
installed on Mount
in stream,
Chinhong by an
like on
adeptus in the
streams.
distant past. An early mechanical device.
It's just one of those things
Located
I
in
cannot
Chinhong
do.
Pass, it was designed to automatically fire at large monsters, protecting Liyue from external threats.
Mr. Zhang Li really knows Liyue inside out.
It's not like he's the
Apparently
god of
not
it or
quite.
anything.
This is the first I have ever heard of the Cocoa Goat.
The cocoa goat is a legendary animal, an adeptabeast.
Did you want to add anything else, or...?
No, just that the cocoa goat is a legendary animal, an adeptabeast.
So we're fighting a god.
What it looks like, don't know. Where to find it, don't know either. Where it came from, also don't know.
Very well then. Let's start by investigating near the Guizhong
Listen,
Ballista.
listen. No, I love
Perhaps
Chi-Chi
we
too
will
much.
find
I'm...
some clues.
What the heck is a cocoa goat?
Is it possibly a cocoa goat? Alright. Oh, hell no. I hate knowing this area because there's so many things that could kill me. This is really just a giant ass crossbow.
It's huge! Paimon can totally believe it took an Adeptus to build this.
It's a giant ass crossbow. It's literally just a giant ass crossbow.
How do you operate this thing? Just think how much strength you would need.
It is currently inoperable in any case. This device is broken.
Aw, what? It broke?
After millennia of wear and tear, even Adepti contraptions
Oh,
are difficult to
gotcha.
maintain.
Oh, she has
So what are we gonna do? Quick, Mr. Zhang Li, use your unlimited high society knowledge powers.
You almost make it sound like I'm some sort of bourgeois parasite whose only utility lies in providing quaint pieces of trivia on demand. That said, let me think for a moment. Ah, yes.
Is this who I
Spare
think
parts
she plays?
were made for the Guizhong Ballista when it was first built, in case it was damaged in battle.
Okay, so she plays the
As I
unknown god in the
recall,
beginning. I was like, that's
there
why.
is a military supply post from that period somewhere inside the
Ah,
pass.
gotcha. Game I don't play.
If we can retrieve the spare parts from where they are stored, we may be able to repair the Guizhong Ballista. One just needs to understand the basic working principles of the device.
So,
Sorry, telling me I'm basically fighting
what you're
these.
saying is that you actually understand the working principles?
I have a smattering of knowledge on the topic. With the parts in hand, I could at least tinker with it.
Sounds tall, Retrieve. Oh my god, are you kidding me?
Where is that supply post? Here, post.
The question is, how do I get into it?
Windblade.
Oh, well, I can do that. Because I don't think I hit the wrong button by mistake. Because I don't think I'll be able just to burn it. Yeah.
I won't let you down.
Yeah, because the rest of this is just building, so it's in there. Ah, fuck. Love doing that. There we go. Is there a way to get through on the top? There probably is. Nope, there's a chest.
Another target tracked
Hell
down by
yeah.
Outrider Amber.
Oh, there's a window. You know, like the reasonable explanation. Alright. Time to windblade the shit out of it.
Is this an answer from this world?
Oh, yeah, sure, make my life easier. Actually, because she has a better way to do this. Yeah, because she just says, I'm stuck on it. Look, I want the chest.
Anything the troop could use on our journey?
I have to upgrade my shit. Hallelujah, I saw a circlet.
Ah, these parts look useful. One moment. I will try to repair the device. It is done. The Guizhong Ballista is more intricately designed than I thought.
Ooh. Now how do we turn it on?
It's easy enough. We simply need to do this. Look, it even has a scope.
Over here we have nothing. And over there,
Something's gonna pop up in front of it.
nothing.
Hey! Just what do you think you're doing?
Shoot him.
So you fixed up this turret because you're planning to do what, exactly?
Not a turret. A Guizhong Ballista. Also, kindly state your name before you ask a question. It's just good manners.
Are you blind or something? You're looking at the leader of the treasure hoarders, old man. This area's supposed to be chock full of hidden treasures, but you can't get anywhere near them with this thing keeping watch. It might look like any other mechanical device,
Sound like I
but
stole
trust
all
me,
the treasure
it's
already.
got a mind of its own. Last time we approached the mountain, it nearly skewered one of our guys.
Good.
A few of us risked our lives to disarm it, which amazingly we managed. And then we turn our backs for 2 seconds, and you've already gone and repaired it! The next thing you'll be repairing is your faces! And that's if you get out of this alive!
Tut tut.
So how
Vandalizing the legacy of an Adeptus for
I don't know why I know.
selfish gain.
I don't know why I know so many NPCs
Disgraceful
with that.
behavior.
Alejandro.
It is
I think
not
it's just
we
because I'm
who
so
need
used to hearing voice
reprimanding,
actors now.
but you.
Because I watch so much shit. Please tell me we don't have to fight them. God damn it! Alright.
Flag slide.
Do this the fun way then. Got the edge. Got the edge.
Flag slide. Observe.
Even though I'm pretty sure the game is really just gonna respawn them.
Flag slide. Observe.
Yeah, her ult gets like, or not her. Oh shit! Yeah, I was about to say they can really just get back up.
Flag slide. Observe.
Alright, that's one. Alright, so where did the rest of them disappear to? He's still shoveling dirt up there. Nah! Would you like a taste of my spear? Again, I love doing that! It's just so fun sliding! It's just so fun doing it! Alright. Where is he? Where's the last one I threw off the edge? The shot doesn't take damage! Oh shit!
The hunter becomes.
I'm just gonna... Oh, son of a bitch! Mistake was made! I was about to say, since it's really just... Let me just casually, stabby stab.
If it's useful, I'll take it.
Oh my god, I have to climb all the way back up, don't I? Sure do! I really hear them, it's so funny. Like, you're not doing anything to me. Ah, hello. That was... What the fuck? Get off the wall.
That tingle?
What did he say?
That tingle?
Oh my god, I hate rocks like these where you can't climb up them. What's happening?
Fry.
I love this so much. This is just free entertainment. Are you actually kidding? Can I not climb up these rocks?
Fry. That tingle?
Oh my god. Again, you're not doing anything to... Again. Wow, you're doing so well. Bitch! No!
Fry. That tingle?
Useless.
That should kill him.
Fry.
That didn't kill him. I don't know it killed him. Again, that's so fun doing.
Doesn't hurt.
Are you sure about that? You're literally taking 200 damage. Aw, shit.
Fry. That tingle?
That's gonna be an overload.
I got careless. Have a little taste.
Oh shit, that's right. Traveler gets healed. Alright. About to be like, you're just gonna end up killing your partner. Yeah, you did.
Prepare to be blown away.
Get off. He's probably fine. Let's get back. Oh my god.
Flag fly.
He's still alive. I am amazed by that.
Flag fly. Observe.
I love her.
Observe.
Especially just the fact that I can just spam it 'cause it's only 5 seconds.
Observe.
She's a shield and my DPS. Because his hammer actually does some shit. Okay.
Flag
this.
And leap.
It's just... Oh, I killed a man. There's one more. Where is he? Is he under me? Where is he?
You're open. You're open.
I hear the knives. Oh my god.
These lowlifes didn't know who they were messing with.
Troubling ourselves over this rabble is not worth the time.
Oh my god, it's not.
We should focus on our contract with Qiqi.
Oh yeah, that! So we've got the Guizhong ballista working, but where's our Coca goat?
A search using the Guizhong ballista revealed no significant life forms nearby, save for the usual wildlife. What's more, a contraption built using Adeptus technology should have no trouble detecting an Adeptabeast, as Qiqi put it.
Which means...
Repairing this... No, I'm not gonna say it was...
Paimon wouldn't go that far. We did something positive, right?
Yeah, we killed a bunch of tether hoarders.
We won't solve anything while standing here and racking our brains. Let's return to Boo Boo Pharmacy, explain that we could not find a Coco goat, and review our next step.
Good idea. We did our best, and that's what counts.
Is a zombie gonna, like, bite my ankle? Yay! I'm very tempted to kill them! But I'm not going to... Alright. I'm gonna try to finish this by 9:30. Because home streamer is starving. Oh yes, I love when I simply cannot just grab the wall and climb. There we go. Oh yes, let's make this fun. Someone else camping, that's great, I love it. GG! Actually, I'm pretty sure.
Forgive us. We were unable to fulfill our end of the contract. We found no trace of the Coco Goat Adeptibeast of which you speak.
What a disappointment. Don't worry about it. But I feel very disappointed.
Aw, poor Chi-Chi. Why does Paimon feel so guilty all of a sudden?
Coco goat milk is tasty. So tasty. Much better than normal goat milk.
Chi-Chi's a
Only an
sweetheart.
Adeptibeast could make such tasty milk. I'm sorry. I have a poor memory. I cannot remember the name of the milk. That's why I wrote it down. Where did I put it? Ah, here. This is the name.
Oh, it's coconut milk.
Coconut milk.
Huh?
I owe you both an apology. I hastily agreed to what appeared to be an equitable agreement with this zombie child, when perhaps I should have undertaken further due diligence.
Never mind, Zhongli. You didn't know. As the Liyue proverb goes, all things are random and, so how are you supposed to predict anything? Literally no one could have seen this coming.
Excuse me, everyone. Did Chi-Chi say a bad thing?
No, you did not. You were just confused.
Oh. Sorry, but Paimon's gonna leave the job of shattering this poor kiddo's world to you.
It all began with the fruit of a coconut tree. Same time.
No. Impossible.
I'm sorry.
Seems Chi-Chi took this pretty hard.
Oh! Someone learnt a valuable life lesson today, then. Thank you all for looking after my little Chi-Chi.
Hi.
Might I ask who?
Who? Hi. You. I like
Oh,
your
how
design.
rude of me. I'm Baiju, boss of the Boo Boo Pharmacy.
Paimon thought Chi-Chi was the boss. Turns out it's some wacko who wears medicinal ingredients around his neck. What a sorry state of affairs. This little mascot is even more of a simpleton than Chi-Chi.
Give me.
The medicine, the snake is speaking.
Nothing.
I prefer to stay silent, but faced with strangers, I must speak, lest you mistake me for an escapee from the medicine cabinet, for I am a living, breathing serpent.
Don't mind Chung Sheng. She's a good girl, really. As for you three, communal chaos causing with Chi-Chi aside,
That's literally Ren's,
what
that's Ren's
business
snake.
brings you here?
That's what she looks like.
Do you sell everlasting incense in this fine
It's just,
establishment?
it's not white. Like
Everlasting incense? Why, of course we do.
At
as
last,
a
things
character.
are finally starting to come together.
3 million Mora. Top quality.
Might as well rob the Golden Pass.
Too bad the Chising have taken it over for now. Security will be tighter than usual.
3 million. An innocuous number in and of itself, though practically speaking, it could be a hard sum to come by.
Child.
It's a crazy number. We'd never be able to make that much Mora. And as for Mr. Zhongli, he's around 3 million short.
This is correct.
God damn it. No shame.
What are we gonna do?
No shame.
Is this the part where we go crawling back to Child?
20 minutes later, do we actually go crawling back to chat? Yep. Yep. God damn it. Shut up. That's not his name.
Coco Goat. Coco Goat. My sides hurt. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe you fell for that.
Shut up.
Hey, less laughter, more sympathy.
I'm almost in tears over here.
Griffin, I'm gonna slap you.
Thank you. That was the best laugh I've had in a long time. In return, I'm more than happy to sort out this mess
Yeah, I
you've
will
managed
still
to get
get a group
yourselves
of
into.
friends to come kick your ass.
Excuse me, sir. Dr. Baiju, isn't it? Truly honored. I'm Child, one of the Fatui Harbingers. Forgive my audacity, but I see a great many opportunities for us to collaborate in the future. If Bubu Pharmacy needed a stable supply of, say, coconut milk, the Fatui could help by setting up a robust and speedy distribution network.
Strange. I knew the Fatui infiltrated businesses with seductive deals, but so much fuss over coconut milk?
Listen,
Coconut
I
milk.
want him.
Baiju, quick. Chi-Chi wants coconut milk.
Oh, baby.
Ah, yes, of course, Chi-Chi. Anything you want. Thank you, child. I look forward to a successful collaboration in the future.
I want him.
I can give you a discount on that everlasting
I don't care.
incense, too.
I want him as a
Let's
character
say
to play as.
2,990,000 Mora.
That's like 0 difference from 3 million!
How long is the discount?
2,990,000. Also an innocuous number in and of itself, though practically speaking, it is a whole 10,000 less than the original sum of 3 million. Well, now that this is settled, we must head back to Yujing Terrace. Mr. Child, Dr. Baiju, Little Miss Chi-Chi, see you soon.
Little Miss Chi-Chi. Oh, that's adorable. Oh, shit.
That lot is an absolute riot. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I laughed so hard.
I was about to be, let me pull up an Among Us stream.
So, you've been eavesdropping, I hope. What have I missed?
Yes, Master Child. They spoke of the Qixing taking the Golden House.
Well, well, well. Ningguang and her Qixing cronies. What else would they be hiding in the Golden House, if not the Exuvia? I apologize, but I warned you, didn't I? As the old Liyue saying goes, the walls have ears.
What did I say? What did I say? Oh no. What is that achievement? Well, fuck me. I'm gonna have to go fight Child very quickly. Because fuck my life. Again, I'm so glad I got her. She's so pretty.
Well, as it stands, we've hired helpers, and we've acquired the everlasting incense. The completion of our preparations is not far off.
Whew, finally!
Is that it?
Well, traveler, have you gained anything from our adventure so far?
It's been odd.
Odd?
I met Chi-Chi.
Which is it, I wonder?
I mean, I met Chi-Chi,
the questions
and
that such
the man
travels raise are ever so
Ren would probably,
well,
literally
I'll
probably
leave
program
you to
into his
ruminate
game.
over it yourself. As to remuneration for your help, I've decided to treat you to a meal.
Wow.
Oh, yes, don't worry.
I didn't hit anything!
I will remember to bring the Mora this time. Tonight, I shall take you both to an old hole in the wall, praised throughout Liyue.
Is it literally going to be a hole in the wall?
As in a cool restaurant?
Indeed. Let us meet near the harbor, at third round knockout.
He's not going to treat us, is he? A long goodbye. Okay, first of all, where is it? Bitch, you're not going to tell me where the fuck it is. What was the time? 18. I mean, I might as well. I have nothing better to do. Whoops. Wait! Why did I sound like a cartoon for a second? I think what he means by true is that he stole more of Child's money. There's a teleport.
Ah, you're here. There's no need to order. I've already done so. Third round knockout is not for lightweights, like those taverns in Mondstadt. Here, the owner does not take such unorthodox orders as fruit juice. I ordered some wine-fermented sweet rice balls for you, if that counts.
I should have expected this.
If it is to your liking, dear customers, I shall continue the tale of Lady Ningguang's Jade Chamber.
Hey, there's even a storyteller here. Great atmosphere.
Besides fine wine, the excellent ambiance is the reason why this place is so well loved.
So if we're talking about the Jade Chamber, you know the thing's gonna get fucking destroyed multiple times.
But when I say ambiance, I refer to a different sort from the one the Teyvat travel guide uses to judge other establishments.
As you all know, high above the land of Liyue lies a pavilion in the clouds, a palace in the mist. What does it mean to have all-seeing eyes? This, my friends, Lady Ningguang's masterwork that bridges earth and sky. Imagine, the weather is clear, and you gaze down from the deck on the world below. Behold, the glorious sights of Liyue Harbor, stretching out far and wide.
It's got you! It's got you!
They say that when Lady Ningguang ponders important affairs, she retreats to her Jade Chamber with none but her 3 closest confidants in tow. Why brings she these trusted 3 to sift through sources, dig through documents, looking for information? Piece by piece,
See, actually, I think she has the most consolation because I've drawn her so many times. And
but well before the wall is filled,
I wishes.
Lady Ningguang's mind is made up. Having made her call, she has every last document shredded, and whoosh, she scatters the shavings out her window. Ah, look at them, how they billow in the wind like a sudden swirling blizzard. As the fragments fall, traces of text flicker before the eyes of the merchants of Liyue, like ink stains in white snow. The saying goes, the rarest treasures in the land are the words brought by the paper snow. For the words of the Tianquan
I love
have the power
I
to
love
move
the
mountains.
fucking design. There's so many characters designs I enjoy. I like that.
These are but scraps of paper, and yet they guide Lady Ningguang's hand. Such is their value. Merely grasping 1 or 2 of them will surely gift you a fragment of her wisdom, enough to stay a step or 2 ahead of your peers.
Tianquan Ningguang. Feels like we're hearing this name a lot. Liyue locals talk
Gren
about
is in the way of
her.
my fan.
The
I didn't notice
Fatui
that.
hate her. She's
Ooh.
most likely the one who hid the Exuvia, and we saw her at the Rite of Descension. Huh. Paimon wonders what sort of person she is.
At last I have found you. You who returned from Jueyun Karst.
Who's there?
Paimon, we gotta go.
Wait, I am not with the Millelith, nor am I here to claim your bounty. However, I am an emissary of the Liyue Qixing. My name is Ganyu, secretary at the Yuehai Pavilion, and I have come specifically to meet you.
No, never mind. He's sitting there because he makes that shit warm, and he's in the way.
Well, in concrete terms, I am the corporate secretary for the Qixing.
There we go.
At the moment, I am serving as Lady Ningguang's special emissary.
Ah, shit.
Ningguang sent you? We were literally just talking about her.
That's right.
My apologies, you who have returned from Jueyun Karst. I am duty-bound and cannot extend my courtesy to you in full. But I have with me a letter from Lady Ningguang. She extends a formal invitation to you in her capacity as Tianquan. She invites you to her palace in the sky.
What? An official invitation?
Lady Ningguang said this.
Oh god.
Invite her to come here. I wish to meet her. At the Jade Chamber, together we shall snip every one of these entwining dark threads.
Oh, what have we done? Are we about to meet the myth, the bitch, the legend? Okay.
Another handsome sum today.
And with that, the emissary who called herself Ganyu just disappeared.
I didn't. Okay.
But we've received an invitation from the Liyue Qixing. Paimon still can't believe it.
Sitting there.
We'll be meeting people that have way more money than Paimon could ever count. We should be on our best
Paimon was up to something again.
An invitation to visit the Jade Chamber is a rare honor indeed. You'd best be on your way now. But don't forget about the rite of parting. Once you've finished at the Jade Chamber, meet me at Dihua Marsh.
Fine.
Don't worry, we won't forget. Dihua Marsh. We'll see you there.
Available for links. Yeah, I was about to be like, I feel like that's where it closes off for me. Alright. Alright. Alright, cool. So I have all that done. Oh my god, what am I? My brain actually just short-circuited for a second. Yeah, I was about to be like, that's 28 and I'm 25. Nice. Okay. So yeah, and icy issues. Right. I'll do that later, but I do want to do One Wish. This one. Fuck me, of course. Alright. I saw that. Yeah. Mastery dust. Alright. Yeah, that's gonna be where I end this. I am incredibly... I just want food. Because, like, the smell of the food I'm smelling is ridiculous. Alright, let's see. Who is live at the moment? I know someone was gonna go live, but at the moment I didn't care. Because I'm literally gonna go live tomorrow. Oh, someone's doing Origin. Or is doing a hardcore Origins. Yeah, Blue Sky Club is doing a hardcore Origins. So let's go raid. And I am... Let's stay. Yeah, you'll see me tomorrow. I'm gonna try to make it a longer stream because that's gonna be my last stream of the week, and it's gonna be my last stream with Facecam for a while. Literally just because I'm going back to college and I live with other people, and I know they're not probably comfortable with like their entire livelihoods being put on like the internet. So yeah, we're gonna go back to Faceless for the next 4 months. We'll probably see if like I get like chances like in between But yeah. Bye bye.